he hired an agent to do advertising.
I can hear you.
Check. We got it. All right. All right. We are here with Aaron Singerman, the CEO, the president, the Mr. Everything at Redcon1 Nutrition. You've had a couple of these, right?
Oh yeah. Well, I've usually it's me interviewing you.
Right. Yeah, it's pretty cool. First time we did this was 11 years ago, 2009. Yeah. It was a lot better because you had that radio voice, the Wolfman Jack voice. I'm a lot silkier and sexier.
Much smoother.
Yeah. I learned it from my guy Nate over here. So I want to know what you're up to and how you got here, because a lot of people that don't know, we won't delve too deep today, but you weren't always CEO Aaron Singerman. You weren't always living in a beautiful home in Boca with 3 beautiful kids and a beautiful wife. You had hit some potholes on your way, just like everyone else.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about how you were able to go so far from where you were. All right.
So when me and you met, I think it was 2008 or 2009, right?
Yeah.
Somewhere around then. And before I tell how I got to where I am, I wanted to. It was funny because I stayed at Jose's house in 2009, right? Or 2010. Before, what was that? Was it Atlantic? Was that what show was it?
It was right after the Tampa Pro that I won. And I stayed to do photo shoots. I said, dude, go up to Boston, stay at my place. You can use my car, you can use my house. And then I'll fly up a few days later and we'll go down to Connecticut for the Hartford Pro.
Was that the show that you got mad at me about, or was that a different show?
I won the show, and you were like, you look great, but you're no David Henry.
I did not say that. I didn't say that. But yes, as soon as he came off the stage, he's like, fuck you, Aaron Singerman. So I stayed at your house and watched your prep, and we went and had vodkas and sushi at one point.
We did, of course.
I always remember because I stayed in the basement, and I always remember the laundry story. So I did the laundry, and I came down, and did you know this story? No. So Jose's girlfriend at the time, she's very, very nice to let me stay there. But then once I was there, she didn't seem too happy that I was there, right?
Yeah,
She wasn't too happy.
she's a girl.
So when I came down, all my wet laundry was on the floor. And so she had pulled it all out, left it all. Anyway, so how did I get to where I'm at? You know, my life has been a series of significant ups and downs, just like everybody. But I started off really having a tough time as a teenager and eventually getting addicted to drugs and intravenous heroin and cocaine and a lot of difficulties surrounding trying to figure out who I was and who I wanted to be and everything. And along the way, fortunately, I had a big event, an epiphany kind of moment that made me realize that I was basically about to die. And I got away from that, thank God. And I thought to myself, basically, what am I passionate about? You know, what would I want to do with my life? Because I didn't want to do drugs anymore. And the only thing I could think of that I was passionate about from the time I was a little kid all the way till when I finally got off of drugs in my mid to late 20s was bodybuilding. And you have to be, with bodybuilding, you know, genetics, as you know, plays a major role. So being a tall, skinny Jewish kid with no genetics to speak of, the chances of me being the next Dorian or Lee Haney or Ronnie Coleman was 0. So I already knew that, but you know, I love bodybuilding enough to look around and say, well, I also, you know, there's Joe Weider, there's Ben Weider, there's Steve Blackman, there's Peter McGuff, who I really looked up to at the time, and Dan Solomon, and Bob Crow, other people. Bob was still competing back then, but there were other people, Larry Pepe, all these other guys that were making money in bodybuilding, and so I decided to focus all of my available energy on figuring out a way to make money in bodybuilding. And so I first started on the bulletin boards by being Aaron Singerman on all the bulletin boards. So I'd post everybody was Swole Gun 69 or whatever, right? And I was the only one that was Aaron Singerman, the actual name. And the whole point was, I posted tens of thousands of times on every board, from Muscle Mayhem to Get Big to hoping that somebody would notice me and be like, oh, this kid's got something to say. And I also wrote articles. I'd send free articles to Robert Kennedy's Muscle Mag and Flex and MD, and I'd write, critical sometimes and sometimes very positive emails to every podcast host, Dave Palumbo and everybody, hoping for somebody to notice me. And eventually somebody did, Carl Lenore from Superhuman Radio, and he gave me an opportunity to interview him on his own show, and I took that opportunity incredibly seriously, like you would for trying to become a lawyer, taking your LSATs or whatever, something. I crammed for it. And when I interviewed him, he was like, man, you have a great radio voice. And he said, would you ever want to do a podcast? And Superhuman Radio is about physical culture and maximizing not just your muscles, but your body in general. And I said, well, I would love to do a podcast about bodybuilding. And he said, all right, we'll do it. And that became Off Topic Radio, that I interviewed you several times, and that gave me inroads into working for Dave Palumbo at RX Muscle when he left, John Romano and him left, and started RX Muscle. And then I was Dave Palumbo's lackey, basically, for a while, traveling the world, covering the world of bodybuilding and fitness. And
when he fell down the stairs in India, you had to take over?
So I saved Dave's life in India. I don't know, I probably don't tell that story enough, but he tore his quad walking down the steps of the gym, and he called me and said, emergency, come help me. I'm on the floor in a gym in Mumbai, and I can't get up. And I went and got him, and we ended up going to the emergency room in Mumbai, and we bribed her away, which is really interesting because it's crazy. It was like midnight in Mumbai hospital, thousands of people there, and you would just give money to the next person. They put you up in the front of the line, the next person, MRI, a little bit of money. And so we ended up getting everything done. And as he was walking, he didn't want to be in a wheelchair. He was walking down the hospital lane, aisle, or whatever, and he slipped backwards, like you wouldn't believe, because his other quad gave out. And he slipped up, and I was right behind him, and I caught him. And to this day, it's like if he would have came back and he'd been done. It was that big of anyway. So it was. So I ended up staying and covering the show, and over the next year or two, I became the editor-in-chief of RX Muscle. And along the way, obviously, I got to talk to and meet many people like yourself. And I was always trying to network and figure out what would be the next thing for myself in bodybuilding and fitness. And once my wife, Darielle, who's out there somewhere, we got pregnant with our son Asher, and I realized that it wasn't enough to follow my passion anymore. I needed to make money. And Dave was paying me, but not not a lot of money by any means, right? And I was hustling to make other money, but in reality, the money in the sport of bodybuilding is really only in sport supplements. Contest promotion to some degree too, but not like supplements. And I loved supplements. I took them since I was like you, since a little kid. And so it was a pretty easy transition into figuring out a way to create that kind of success, knowing the people that, the relationships that we build in this business. And that started a company called Blackstone. And through that, I started a company with Kai Green called Dynamic Muscle. With CT Fletcher, I had one. With Dana and Rob Bailey, we had one. Prime Nutrition, and then it all led to what you've seen in the last 4.5 years. All of those lessons and all of the mistakes culminated into the kind of juggernaut that is Redcon1, and also building an amazing team. We have 130 people in the office, and most of the good ideas that come to Redcon1 aren't mine anymore. They're the people in the team that we have assembled around us. So it's been an incredible journey, and it's extremely surreal to think back to those shows and covering the world of bodybuilding with Dave Palumbo. It seems like a very, very long way away, even though when I think about it, a lot of those memories come right back.
You say a lot of the ideas aren't yours, but you're still heavily involved and still an integral part of what goes on every day. I see the videos, the commercials, you're involved. It's almost like you want to control that part of it, where, instead of hiring actors or letting other people do it, you do it, you get your family involved in it, you're having fun with it, and it shows, and it makes a difference. It's part of your brand that, they can rely on you being part of it. And that's a huge part of the success. And I think, the way you've done everything, you starting the gym, that's another huge part of branding, your company. What made you actually want to start a gym? That was a risky proposition then.
Yes, it is. So the truth is, anybody who loves bodybuilding, in the back of their mind, they would like to have a gym. I mean, you like to have it. Everybody kind of wants to have a gym. It just, you realize that gym business is a very difficult business. Not many people make money in the gym business. And also, it's not something that I know a lot about. I mean, I was a trainer in a gym and stuff like that, but I would never say I'm an expert in the gym business. But I do love equipment. I have a passion for equipment. It's like almost like somebody loves cars. I love equipment, so I had that interest, and then but it really kind of fell in my lap. Daryl doesn't like when I say that I got lucky about it, but there's some element of luck, and then some element of all the other work that I did along the way made this opportunity kind of manifest. Because we worked out at this gym called Trainer Space, me, Eduardo, a few other employees, and the gym was dead. Like when I say dead, like 60 members dead. And it was a gorgeous gym. The guy spent $5 million building it out. And I mean, it was, so the bones of the gym are beautiful. The equipment was terrible. The atmosphere was terrible, but it was a beautiful gym. And so the owner of the gym came to me and basically said, like, I've been losing, my best month I lost $40,000. And he'd been doing it for a little over 3 years. He says, I have a few years left on the lease. What would you give me for the gym? And I'm like, after looking at the P&L, and I'm like, man, honestly, it's worth nothing. Like, I understand you put all this passion and time into this, and to you, maybe it's worth a lot of money, but can't pay you to lose $40,000 a month. And I said, but what I would do is I'll take over the liability of the gym. I don't want you can't take out the infrared sauna, the computers, the TV, nothing. Just leave it all and walk away. And he did the math, and he was like, well, if I don't do this, I'll lose another few $1 million. And he's not the kind of guy who would walk away from it and just close down in the middle of the night. He was going to meet his obligations. So he took a few days and said, all right, you can have the keys. And it was very surreal, and he signed over the building and everything in it for nothing, and for me taking over the liability. So we rebranded the gym, put a few $100,000 into an already beautiful gym, bought all kinds of new equipment, got equipment from Italy, a lot of stuff that I love. We assembled all the equipment that I've loved, or most of the equipment that Eric and I have loved over the years, and created a really unique place. And because of the Redcon1 branding and the brand being so strong, a gym that otherwise was dead, of over 1,200 members, and the gym has been profitable. Obviously, we had some months during COVID where no gym was profitable, but the amount of people that are really into fitness that go there, it's a gym that has a unique energy, unique lighting, awesome equipment, and people come from all over. We have members that drive 2 or 3 hours once or twice a week to come to the gym. So it's very surreal, and I don't like, Daryl doesn't like when I say we lucked into it, but it feels very fortunate, because basically everything in my entire life has been a lot of hard work to get anything. Nothing has ever really come easy. So to have something so cool, like where I go in there after work, and it, I hate to say it came easy, but it really did. So it's a unique thing in my life where I look at it and feel very, very grateful.
That's huge. So you didn't have to pay any debt, just take on the liability. That's a great deal, especially if you're confident. You already have a huge audience, a captive audience to bring there. Wow, that's exciting. It's so good to hear. Do you have anything else you want to add? I know you got a lot of Aaron questions.
So one question I have, when you started the brand of Redcon, clearly it's a military-based theme, the names of all of the products, and the marketing, and obviously you've gone on to that with the charity work that you've done. You're donating to the military, and some of the, I guess we'll say, sponsored athletes, right? That you obviously have bodybuilders, MMA, but you also have special forces people you bring in. Was that something that you had always wanted to do while you were at Blackstone and weren't able to, or what was the genesis of that idea when you leave Blackstone, you're now about to do something on your own, and it's the wild, wild west, and most of what's out there at that time is the kill it, 5% nutrition, the more hardcore, the better, right? So where did the military theme come from?
So the first thing is that, we've always, Eric and I have both always really loved and supported the military. And for me, both of my grandfathers, one of them fought in World War II, one of them fought in Korea, and my grandfather, Charles Singerman, had his uniform in his closet where I'd go. We go Friday nights, we go to dinner there, and I always look at the uniform and see all his medals. And he was an officer that fought on the front lines in Normandy, and he helped free the Holocaust survivors and stuff. And it was a big deal, big enough deal he didn't really ever want to talk about it, other than a few kind of sad stories. But it always meant something to me, so that was always in the back of my head. At Blackstone, there really wasn't an opportunity to do anything like that, and I don't think that it was something that we really thought about a lot, although we did have a tremendous amount of military customers, military and police customers. So it was like we were interested, but we didn't really push towards it. But when Redcon1, when the idea started, we knew that it was, as everybody knows, an extremely crowded space. Extremely crowded. So we thought from the very beginning we wanted to create a brand that stood for something, that meant something, that was more than just a cool name or a cool product, that it had to be more than that. And so it was at that exact same time I met Brandon Cruz and Ryan Bates, who were both Navy SEALs, former Navy SEALs, West Coast team guys, and I love them. And they're not only are they extremely athletic, but they're charismatic and funny. And we met them like, man, these guys could be something. Like we could take this. And that was the same time as we were looking for a name. And when we started looking at names, it just kind of happened that Eduardo discovered the name Redcon1. Celebrating us, it was him. So he found the name Redcon1, which was a military term for the highest state of military preparedness. And so I'm like, whoa, that makes sense, because who doesn't want to be at the highest state of readiness? Everybody wants to be. Whether you're a soccer mom, a Navy SEAL, or a bodybuilder, there was nobody who's going to say, I don't want to be ready, I don't want to be prepared. And so the name Redcon1, I knew that I did not want it to be something labs or something nutrition. I wanted it to be short, sweet, memorable, something anybody can spell that stood for something. So everything kind of lined up as it should. So it was a very unique set of circumstances that created this almost singularity of like, this was supposed to happen, because all of those things went into one. Because I didn't say, hey, I'm going to create a military, twisted kind of military facing line, and also didn't know if that would even work, because like, who would ever think? So we're the official sponsor of the Iraqi Special Forces. Who would have thought that? Like, who would think that in Saudi Arabia they love total war? It just doesn't, you never know. I'm thinking American military, but it translates to everybody, and it translates to people that aren't military. They like the look, they like the branding, and for some reason it seems to, go past any kind of line that we thought. So now our customer base initially was more hardcore bodybuilding, and now, while we'll always be bodybuilding forever, it's extended to a group of people that's really, really broad.
So one of the things I'm sure you've been asked a lot at an event like this today, where you have a lot of up-and-coming bodybuilders, a lot of people that love the sport, and now you've grown to a position where you can give somebody a livelihood if you choose to work with them, from bodybuilders, MMA, to maybe somebody that doesn't even compete, or he competes, but like Blessing is a really good example of just having the social media thing. Can you talk about what you look for in that? Because the space has changed a lot from when Jose was competing, where you just had to win shows, look your best, win shows, and you got the contract. And it seems like nowadays, in talking with Jose, it's not enough. There has to be an ROI. There has to be an Instagram following. You have to have an athlete that is willing to engage and post and do more than just have a photo in a magazine. So what is it that you look for, whether it be, I know you have different tiers of sponsorship, for those different tiers, or what advice would you give to somebody that their goal is to get some level of sponsorship?
So that has changed dramatically. I mean, when I got into bodybuilding, especially when I got it as a fan, like, people would get a weeder contract. They'd go in, take some pictures when they're in contest shape, and that would be it. They get money every month. And then they, some of these muscle tech deals, basically you get the same situation, make a few $100,000, some of them making serious money. I remember Darren Charles, when we were talking about his weeder contract, making $100,000 a year, doing nothing. Like, just go in, take some pictures a few times a year, and that's it. And compete, and I support you for that. So it's changed dramatically from there. And now when I look at somebody, they need to have a social media following. They need to have an engaged social media following, or ideally, have accomplished something big. So whether that's winning bodybuilding shows or competing in the Olympics or doing something big, or being a SEAL Team 6 Navy SEAL or a Delta Force operator or a Medal of Honor winner, a recipient. They have to have that, or hopefully both of them. And then finally, they have to fit through our brand filter. And that's one of the things that I mentioned about when Redcon1 started. We really knew who we were going to be and what we were going to stand for from the beginning. So our brand filter is very specific, and it requires certain things. Blue collar work ethic. There's a whole list of things that we look at somebody. So for example, we have people, and we've had many people that have tremendous followings, crazy, and they want to be on the team. But if they're I'm using this example, but if they're well-known or popular for their ass, it's a girl, or guys, whatever, it's not enough. It's not enough. So and we wouldn't even want that. We've had people that would work for free that have 10 million followers on Instagram, just want to be part of the team. If they don't fit through the brand filter because they're known for their butt or whatever, I don't want that on the team. And we'll turn that down because it doesn't fit the brand. Because ultimately, if you're trying to build a long-lasting, iconic brand, you can't just take somebody because they have a big following. You need to find somebody that fits your brand and can represent you appropriately, even if they have. And one of the really interesting things is because we've had so many people now that just because your following is the biggest doesn't mean you're going to be able to sell anything. We've had people that have a crazy big following that don't sell anywhere near as somebody that has a much smaller following, because the person is looked at as an authority figure. So, I give you a specific example. Joe Bennett, the hypertrophy coach, can sell supplements, and he'll sell more supplements than Kai Green. Because people look at Joe Bennett and they say, Joe Bennett, this guy is an expert on these things, right? And Kai is this artist, amazing, unique genius, but they don't think Kai knows how many grams of citrulline malate you need for the optimal pump. That's just not where they're not attaching that to them, and that works across the spectrum. So just because somebody's following is not that big doesn't mean they can't influence people to purchase something, or they can't build trust in the customer base. So it is always a learning process, and sometimes I have believed in or gambled on people that seem like they're surefire winners and that they're not. And then I've also been very surprised where you give somebody a chance to be on the team and they may be fantastic. And a lot of it's also work ethic. You see Adam over there, Adam Shearer, he is engaging with the fans. People love him. People want him to come to their store. They're interested in meeting him, and that's also something that's tangible in a different way versus just how many sales somebody can make on the website. So that's another big thing. Is that sometimes you're focused on conversion and how much they're bringing to the site. There's also awareness. So Blessing may not convert a tremendous amount percentage-wise, but his videos get a crazy amount of views, and just people seeing the Redcon logo on him all over the world, what does that value? And you have to determine, is that valuable enough based on what he's getting,
One last question about the gym. So obviously, we could say you fell into it. The success is obviously due to the previous hard work of building up a brand. So you stamp that name on it. People know it's going to be quality. You've put yourself out there with your own videos of your transformation challenges, the workouts that if you're behind something, you're going to do it 100%. Right? So they knew the gym was going to be transformed. With the success now of this first location, where there's really a cult following, it has that club atmosphere. Everyone, I know people from Boston that have flown down just to train in the gym after seeing all of the videos. Any thoughts of opening up more, either doing a franchise or going for a second location, third, and if so, where would you put them?
So there's definitely a thought of it, because like you said, it's very difficult for me to throttle back on things, and it's been a good thing. It's also been a really bad thing, but I'm very difficult being okay, that's enough. So I've had a lot of people reach out and say, hey, can we start one, or are you thinking of franchising? And it's tough because the gym is so unique that you don't want to create a shitty Redcon1 gym, so if somebody says, my budget, I have $300,000, I want to build a Redcon, you can't really. So it's you really need to find the right partner that it has the finances and the wherewithal to do it. So I personally would be interested in opening more in the future. Finding the location, that'll be interesting. So we have, the cool thing about Redcon is we're a really data-driven company, so I can tell you exactly what cities have the most interest in Redcon based on our site traffic, who's buying, etc. So I know for sure that Dallas, Texas is very, very interested. I know Houston, Texas is very interested. I know Texas in general is very interested. Like, they could be good. It could be good. It would be really easy to put it in Miami, but it's like, is that where it should be? It seems like, not really. So it's difficult to find where's the next one, because you definitely don't want it to be in a place that people aren't excited about it, just as excited. But we do have enough. I mean, every weekend there's people in there that come up, because I train legs on Saturday. So on Saturday, that's when people come in, and Saturday at 1, 2 o'clock, there's almost always somebody who comes up and says, I'm from New York, we had somebody from Lithuania, Slovenia. It's like they saw it on the internet, they wanted to come in, and they fly in, they use it as their vacation time. So, if people are willing to fly across the country, there's got to be interest. It definitely won't be in California, I can tell you that much. But there's definitely like some places that are really hot spots that would be interesting. Even Tennessee, I wouldn't want to ever compete with Brent, but even Tennessee is definitely a hot spot.
For sure. Look at the excitement here this weekend. If this were Boston, it would have been shut down last night. It's crazy. All right, I think we've touched on enough for now. I'd love to have you on the actual podcast, because you're another one of those people that can talk forever, and people love to hear it. And you got the voice. You and Nate can go back and forth. Perfect voice. I'll just scream out every once in a while like I got Tourette's. So, thank you so much for doing this, and enjoy the rest of the weekend. It was good to see your family. It's good to see you as always. All right, brother. Thank you.